Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Wednesday, May 14, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Ooh, talk about bring the funk on Capitol Hill. They were going after Ice Barbie Kristi Noem and nutcase himself, Robert Kennedy Jr. Wait until we show you what took place. Ooh, it was just way too much fun. Omaha, Nebraska, guess what? Got themselves a new mayor, a brother, first time in history. We'll talk with the mayor-elect about his historic win. Plus, second day of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, and Cassie Ventura gives more disturbing testimony about vicious beatings from Diddy. We'll talk to legal analyst Candace Kelley. Folks, that and a lot more. Of course, we got crazy-ass grifter-in-chief looking like a fool in the Middle East. We'll talk about that as well. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
It was Fever in the Funk House on Capitol Hill. First up, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. Boy, Congresswoman Bonnie Coleman Watson laid into his ass when it comes to his agency. Roll it.
Mr. Secretary, few things enrage me more than the racist attacks I see this administration carrying out by embarking on an ignorant crusade to rid the government of any programs that are working to improve the lives of Black Americans. The administration has moved to ban the words Black, race, bias, minority, oppression, prejudice, discrimination, disparity, and racism. Any grant application on federal programs that include these words had them immediately stripped. It is painfully clear to me that in doing this administration that you work with and work for is attempting to legitimize racial discrimination, and that, sir, is a moral disgrace. It is not woke to improve the health and well-being of Black people who are despairingly impacted by just about every health issue. It should not be controversial to make right a healthcare system that was not built to help people like me, to take my concerns, my pain, my health very seriously in this country. Black women die from childbirth, complications at a higher rate in this country than any other high-income country. And last year, where there was overall maternal deaths dropping in this country, well, Black women maternal deaths rose. This sickens me, and it tells me that our government has so much more that we must do to focus on improving the lives of Black women, not less. Your decision and justifications are damning and troubling, particularly for destructive impacts your choices and benefits will have on poor minority people. So tell me, sir, how will eliminating minority health offices, how will eliminating initiatives and programs across the department that were created to look at the disparity in healthcare and the need to give greater attention to the fact that Black folks' experience in healthcare was very damaging, was very different. How exactly will HHS banning the words that we use to describe ourselves make us healthier?
Congressman, President Trump's vision of this country is the same as Martin Luther King's, that we should have a colorblind administration. President Trump is deeply concerned about the maternal health crisis and the fact that Black mothers are more likely to die in childbirth, 2.6 times, 260%.
So
more
how
likely
will you
to die.
explain, excuse me, sir, let me claim my time because I don't need this rhetoric about Donald Trump and the lie that he cares about me and Black people. What I want to know is the proposals. I'm claiming my time, sir, reclaiming it. I want to know specifically, how do you intend to address those disparities and to overcome those disparities as it relates to Black health in this country with the changes that you've decided are important, or someone has decided for you, I don't know, with your department? Specifically, sir.
I've spent a lifetime working on those priorities, and I continue to do so. We have 8 divisions, 8 programs for minority health at HHS. We've closed one of those offices. We're maintaining the other 7. We have 42 programs for maternal health. We're going to close a couple of them and consolidate them. We're going to still spend $1.7 billion a year. The commitment is there. We're just reorganizing.
Okay, you know what? And the impact of reorganization is something that I shall continually ask you to show me. So please let me warn you now.
I welcome those inquiries.
And I don't want rhetoric. I want numbers. The other thing that really troubles me, sir, is LIHEAP. It is a program specifically to address the needs of low-income and minority families as it relates to heating and even air conditioning. Why? And what is your rationale for eliminating that program specifically? Why?
I'm very committed to LIHEAP. My brother ran a low...
I don't care about your past. I care about your functioning in this department, in this administration right now in response to this question.
My time has expired.
Well, then so has your legitimacy. I yield back.
Well, now, my panel, Rebecca Carruthers, Executive Vice President, Fair Election Center out of D.C., Niambi Carter, author and Associate Professor, School of Public Policy, University of Maryland. Also, Andrew Clark, Managing Partner, District Legal Group out of D.C. Glad to have all 3 of you here. It was a little fired up there, Rebecca. A little fired up there. Okay, let me know when we get Rebecca back. Niambi, I'll go to you. That's what happens when you, this called light his ass up.
Well, listen, I think this is a problem that so many of us have with this administration. Look, Bonnie Coleman has been around for a very long time. She is not a dumb woman and not to be trifled with. And unfortunately, we don't see a lot of fire in the belly like we see from her. And I think that's why it's so exciting to see, because this is the kind of congressional oversight we need. I mean, it has been clear that in this particular administration that people's credentials and bona fides do not matter. And Kennedy was trying to give a lot of talking points, even invoking Martin Luther King, who, quite frankly, if they had their way, we wouldn't even be able to talk about him, his name, or his politics. They want to misrepresent their record. And the fact of the matter is these people don't care about Black people, and they certainly don't care about Black women. And so this whole talking point of what we're trying to do, is reorganize, is consolidate. We want to make healthcare delivery better for Black women is hogwash. We know they're doing everything they can to undermine the social supports and the social welfare network that could support many Black families, Black mothers, particularly those who are low income. And I mean, everything from firing federal workers, where we know a lot of Black women are employed or were employed before this administration, down to Medicaid and Medicare expansion. These people don't care about Black people. And I think what Congresswoman Coleman did show was that these people are just about the talk. The only thing they care about doing is destroying and lying, quite frankly. And, you have to think about what our grandmothers told us. If you lie, you cheat. If you cheat, you steal. And if you steal, you kill. And these are politics of death these people are dealing in. I mean, we won't even be testing our milk pretty soon. This should concern all of us. And I think she cut to the quick with this one today.
Rebecca, I mean, listen, this is what needs to happen, how they must be challenged.
Yeah, absolutely. Because here's the bottom line. If this administration cared about the health and well-being of Black people, then they would do what it takes to increase the number of Black healthcare workers, specifically Black doctors in this country. Today, they would not have went after and decided to investigate some scholarships in Ohio that looks to diversify the medical industry. If this administration really cared about the health and well-being of Black folks, then the president would not have the executive order that looks to change some of the accreditation policies for medical schools, which includes having demographics around diversity to make sure that there's a diversified pipeline of people of color that's entering into the medical profession. So, hats off to the Congresswoman for using her voice and being forceful. And this is the type of thing that we need in order to challenge this administration.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, these thugs are going to do exactly what they're going to do. And Andrew, they must be pushed, prodded, and called out and challenged at every turn.
I mean, and first off, we're talking about healthcare here. Can we just address the elephant in the room? What is going on with my man's voice? Why does he sound so raspy? And he's supposed to be the head of the health for the whole entire United States. Somebody get him a cup of tea. Somebody get him a lunch or something, because the boy just don't sound right. Now, I mean, I'm not going to pretend to know what to do with women's rights, because then I'm just going to be just like him. I'll leave that to my esteemed panelists. But one thing that I hate when they say, when they talk about equality, and they try to bring up Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King lived in a time when there was no equality, and he was trying to at least get us up on the same pedestal. And what we're talking about here today is discrimination to try to knock us down off the pedestal to which we're sitting. So please stop using MLK's name, and also please somebody get that man a cough drop or something.
No. Somebody get him a new job. All right, y'all. Hold tight 1 second. Lots more to break down, including Ice Barbie. Boy, they were going at her on Capitol Hill as well. But coming up next, we're going to talk with the newly elected mayor of Omaha, Nebraska. That's next. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, we're talking about the difficulty of being able to acquire wealth for Black Americans. My guest, Emily Flitter, is the author of The White Wall: How Big Finance is Bankrupting Black America.
The bad stuff that you feel when you're dealing with the financial services industry is not your fault. It's not your fault, and you don't deserve to be treated like this.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Farquhar, executive producer of Proud Family.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, big election last night. Democrat, former deputy police chief of Omaha, Nebraska, John Ewing Jr., beat the incumbent Republican mayor, Jean Stothard, who was seeking her fourth term. Boy, talk about a huge, huge win. Ewing last night said this at his victory celebration.
Hi, I'm John Ewing, your mayor. Before I go forward with my prepared remarks, I have to tell you all a story because he's standing right here in front of me. About 13 years ago, I was in the legislative chambers when one of the former pastors in Omaha, Leroy Adams, told me I was going to be the first black mayor of Omaha. I then came down the escalator, and Pastor Cedric Perkins, who's standing right here in front of us, said, "You're going to be the first black mayor of Omaha." So within about 2 minutes, I heard that from those two men, and I said, okay, that sounds good, but I didn't know if I truly embraced it at that moment. But they said that to me with such conviction that it stuck with me. Yeah. And so thank you for sharing that with me, and thank you for being a great friend throughout this whole process. Tonight, we embark on a new chapter. I am deeply honored and humbled to stand before you today as your mayor-elect.
Well, Mayor-elect Ewing joins us right now on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Glad to have you on the show. First up, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. This is an exciting moment in our city, and we are on top of the world.
So I thought if you look at all these other mainstream white media shows, they say that the Democratic Party is dead. How could you, a black Democrat, beat a three-term incumbent Republican?
I don't think the Democratic Party is dead. I think what we need to do is show people that we are common sense folks who can bring people together and who can get things done. And that's what I've done in my 43-year career in Omaha, and that's what I sold to the people, that we were going to bring people together. We had a vision of creating economic opportunity for everybody in this city, increasing very intentional economic development in North and South Omaha, and that's what was the message that helped us win.
Now, this was not the first time you ran for mayor of Omaha.
Yes, it is.
This was the first time?
Yes, it was.
So you, now previously, because in your remarks there, you said that's when you were in the state legislature.
No, what happened is I was I'm the Douglas County Treasurer.
Got it.
And I was up in our legislative chambers for the City Council, County Board, and all of those organizations. And I came down from a meeting up there. As I was leaving, Pastor Leroy Adams made the comment as I got to the bottom of the escalators to go back to my office. Then Pastor Cedric Perkins made the comment to me as well. So I've been the Douglas County Treasurer. This is my 19th year, and I'm actually the first African-American to win a countywide election in Nebraska as well.
So, so with that, what would you say to other Democrats, other black Democrats who are running, whether it's mayor, for state rep, state senate, because when you look at these polls, oh my God, the Democratic brand is so awful, it's so bad. Yet when you look at a special election in Pennsylvania, one in Iowa, when you look at other ones, you see wins taking place. What do you say to people who, when they hear that, oh my God, the party is rudderless, it has no leadership, what do you say to that?
I think you have to be your own individual first. And then I think, secondly, you have to show the people what you stand for and the fact that you are going to partner with them. One of the things I showed the people in Omaha is the chaos that is happening in Washington, D.C. And I compared that to my leadership style and how I was going to lead this city. And that resonated with people across political aisles, Democrats, Republicans, independents. People want good government, and that's what Democrats have to deliver. We have to impact people's quality of life.
And when you look at your focus, what is your primary focus when you are sworn in and you become the mayor of Omaha?
I want to do intentional economic development. That was my number one thing that I talked to the people of this community about. We have an urban core plan that primarily impacts downtown Omaha, Nebraska. I want to spread that to the North Omaha community, which is primarily black folks, and then into the South Omaha community, which has a large contingent of Latino members of our community, so that they can take part in the economic development in this city and the opportunities in this city. Omaha is ranked highly by places like Forbes magazine as the #1 place to live. Well, I want us to be the #1 place for everybody.
You were deputy police chief.
Yes.
And what often happens is when public safety is an issue, a lot of Democrats try to run as hardcore as they can because this notion that Democrats are soft on crime. How do you make the argument, though, as somebody who served in that capacity, now will be the mayor, that there has to be a balancing act when a lot of these cities are spending 50 and 60% or even more of their city budget on police and fire?
I think we have to have a balance, as you're saying, and I think one of the things I wanted to make sure the people of this community understood is that I do want to increase the staffing because we're about 130 officers short. But I don't want to do that so we're heavy on crime and we're writing more tickets and all of those things. What I want to do is get Omaha police officers the opportunity to be able to do community policing and be able to partner with their community and be able to help their community address the issues as they see them, not just as the police department sees them. And one of the things I point to is I was co-chair of the Crime Prevention Covenant here in Omaha when we started an effort called the Empowerment Network. We were able to reduce gun violence by partnering with the community about 70%. And we are one of 4 model communities because of that, as designated by President Barack Obama's foundation. So it's really about partnering with the people of this community and doing policing with them. And so the people of this community understand my experience in police, and they understand how I want policing to be in this city. We're partners, not people who are doing policing to you.
Questions from my panel. Nyambe, you're first.
So congratulations, Mayor-elect Ewing.
Thank
This
you.
is huge. So can you talk a little bit about how you approach these local communities? Because I can imagine this is not something that can be handled by, consultants and others outside of Omaha. This had to be a very local, very hands-on approach. So can you talk a little bit about your approach to your campaign?
Sure. So the first thing is I've been in public service in this community for 43 years. First as a member of the Omaha Police Department, and then the last 18 and a half years as Douglas County Treasurer. But I've also been heavily involved in community service, having served on about 70 boards. So I think one of the things you have to do is you have to know your community and you have to know your people. So everything we did with the campaign was local people who also knew the city, but they understood politics and I understood the city. So we took and combined those two approaches in order to develop a strategy that would help us win. In the primary, as an example, we had significantly less money than the two people that everybody thought were going to go into the general. We spent about $3.66 a vote. But I had the name recognition, I had the reputation, and then we worked hard. We knocked doors from January to yesterday. We also did phone calls, we did robocalls, we did everything we could to reach out to the voters with our message, and I attended 40 or 50 different forums and neighborhood community group meetings and was able to get my message out there. But I think it really starts with knowing your community.
Thank you.
Andrew?
Yes, so the first thing I know that is on everyone's mind, first, congratulations to you. Are you related to Patrick Ewing?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch your question. I don't know if you froze or if
he asked, are you related to Patrick Ewing? He must be a Georgetown Hoya or something.
I used to tell people that when I was younger, but I'm about a foot shorter than he is.
And congratulations to you, Mayor.
Thank you.
If you could just educate us on how were you able to overcome 12 years that the previous mayor was in office. How were you able to overcome that? I know that you talked about what your election process was like, but what do you think was the central message that you had that was different?
Well, one of the things I try to do, and I don't think people do enough of it, is I ran a clean campaign, but I did talk about my opponent's record and some of the broken promises that were made, for instance, with the restaurant tax that we had. She ran saying that she was going to eliminate it when she was running for her first term. And we still have that restaurant tax. So I reminded people of those type of things, as well as we have a streetcar project that she said was going to go to a vote, and she did not put it to a vote. So I reminded people of her record. I think one of the things we sometimes do is we don't remind people of our opponent's record and we let them get a free pass. I wasn't going to give anybody a free pass in this election.
Rebecca?
John, I got two questions for you. The first question, so potholes. The last time I was back home in Omaha, the streets were kind of jacked up. What is your plan for fixing the potholes in Omaha?
So one of the things that I do is I use people that are really smart and experts in their area. And Rebecca, as you know, being from Omaha, Jim Suttle was mayor, but he was also public works director. And so I told Jim Suttle today, I said, Jim, I've been talking to people about fixing the potholes. One of the things you're going to help me do is you're going to help me develop a plan so we can let the people know that we are serious about repairing their streets, and then we're going to tell them what the plan is. So Jim Suttles, he joked with me and said, man, you're going to put me back to work full time? And I said, yes, I am. But that's what I'm going to do is count on experts. One of the things I know also Rebecca, is that the city used the wrong type of concrete for their street repairs for at least the last 12 years. And I believe that we have to look at substances that will hold up to the weather in Omaha, Nebraska, when we have all of the snow, all of the freezing, ice, and all of the thawing and freezing and all of those things. So that's something I'm going to investigate as well, looking at what cities that are successful are using in terms of materials.
All right, then. Well, go ahead, Rebecca, go ahead.
One more question. Now, first of all, John, congratulations to you and your team and your wife, Dr. Viv Ewing.
But she's listening right across from me.
Absolutely. I know she would be. So it was historical. But each time you've run in Omaha, it's been historical in nature. There are a lot of little black boys and little black girls who now will know that there is a black mayor in Omaha, and representation matters. So what does it mean to you, especially when you're looking in the eyes of your grandson?
What it means to me is that people, especially our people, get to see someone who looks like them in the most powerful position in this city, and they get to believe their dreams are possible. When I first became Douglas County Treasurer, I went into the schools quite a bit, and even up until COVID, and I would tell young people, there's nothing special about me. But I've been able to work hard, I've been able to take advantage of the opportunities, and my dreams have come true. If you do the same thing, then your dreams are possible as well. I was even sharing that message at a program today honoring 8th grade honor roll students, that your dreams are possible. And that's the message I want them to believe. And that's what I said in some of my interviews last night, is that I hope they're watching. I hope they read about this. And I don't just mean in Omaha, Nebraska. I mean across this country. I want our young people to see that their dreams are possible. That's what my life has been about. That's what my public service has been about. When I first became a police officer, one of the first things I did was I became a Boy Scout leader at Lothrop Elementary School, where I went to elementary school.
All right, then. All right. Well, Mayor-elect, I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us. When is the inauguration?
It's going to be on June 9th. And I just have to say really quickly, for those who don't know, Rebecca was my campaign manager when I ran for Congress in 2012. And she did an amazing job for me. I believe she was either the only or one of only 2 Black women who was a campaign manager during that cycle. So I'm proud to see you continuing to do well also.
All right, then. Rebecca, you're supposed to reveal that. How you didn't say nothing?
I told your producer.
You're supposed to say it.
Okay, so I want to say it. It was the closest race in 2012 that was not backed by the Democratic Party. And so part of the reason why is that John heard this and I heard this. They didn't think a Black man could win in Nebraska. So I think that story is so powerful, because there are a lot of Black folks in this country who want to run for office and higher office, but they're told by different folks that you can't do it. And so it's very important, when you are a strong local leader and you're connected with community, you will win elections.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you all.
All right. We appreciate it. Good luck. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Going to break. We come back. We're going to talk about what did we show you? What happened with Ice Barbie on Capitol Hill? Ooh, they were laying into Kristi Noem. That is next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans on average, contributing $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. We purposely don't charge a subscription for our content. We didn't want to do that. We wanted it widely available. So when you support the show, that's what you are doing. We've had great support since we launched this show September 4th, 2018. And so we hope you will join that list. And so if you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. You can also use that code for credit card donations as well. You want to send a check and money order? Go to P.O. Box 5. First of all, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
On the next A Balanced Life, we're talking soul and soul food. The kitchen is the heart of the home. So many memories that are there, the things we've learned, the recipes that we've tried to garner, and to somewhat figure out how to cook ourselves. There's something about the kitchen and family and being at the table that brings us all joy. We're going to be joined by some amazing guests who are going to talk to us about how do we keep tradition alive and what are we doing for the culture.
The traditions and the gathering and the warmth and security, those memories are super important. And we have to, make sure that those continue to happen. So no matter how we get in the kitchen or around the food, I just want you there.
That's all next on A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network.
Now that Roland Martin is willing to give me the blueprint, hey, Cyrus, I need to go to Tyler Perry and get another blueprint because I need some green money. The only way I can do what I'm doing, I need to make some money. So you'll see me working with Roland. Matter of fact, it's the Roland Martin and Cheryl Underwood show. Well, should it be the Cheryl Underwood show and the Roland Martin show? Well, whatever show it's going to be, it's going to be good.
Well, y'all, Ice Barbie went before Capitol Hill today, and let's just say the shade, the pettiness, I was fully there for.
I'm glad Secretary Noem is finally testifying before the committee. After all, it's been 3 months since I sent you a letter asking for her to testify on the Trump administration's dismantling of the Department of Homeland Security and its harmful effects on communities across the country. Secretary Noem, I guess the chairman didn't think systematically dismantling the Department of Homeland Security, firing the federal workers who keep us safe, and violating the Constitution of the United States justified your timely appearance before this committee. But when Donald Trump demanded that Congress hand him money to do more damage to our Homeland Security, Republicans bent over backwards to help him and his billionaire friends at the expense of the American people. Whatever got you here, Secretary Noem, I'm glad you found time among your many photo ops and costume changes to testify about why President Trump is seeking more taxpayer dollars and what you plan to do with that money if you get it.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. You have an important job. I think you have one of the most important jobs in the cabinet. Thank you for doing it. I want you to have credibility and be taken seriously as you do the job. And so I want to put to rest this question about Mr. Garcia in this photo that the president posted on April 21. Madam Secretary, you agree that the letters MS and the number 13 in Times Roman numeral font, that they are doctored on this photo, right?
Congressman Abrego Garcia.
No, I'm just asking about this photo.
It wasn't based off of tattoos. It was based off an entire case.
And I'll accept that
case against him.
For the purpose of this question. You agree, though, that this is doctored. Is that right?
The same protocols that are
Madam
applied
Secretary,
to every
I want you to have
individual
credibility,
enforcement.
and I want you to be taken seriously. Is this doctored or is it not doctored?
I am taken quite seriously.
Is it doctored or not doctored?
With the importance that the president has given me to do
I understand.
Is
it doctored or not doctored?
One thing that's important to remember is that every single time a case is built.
Madam Secretary, I have a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. I have a bullshit detector. I'm just asking you, is this doctored or not doctored?
Sir, The protocols in the case built against
Can you
Abrego
answer the
Garcia
question?
were exactly the same.
Madam Secretary,
I don't have
you're-
any knowledge as to that photo you're pointing to.
Okay, can you
I
take her?
don't, sir.
Can you show her the photo? Walk her the photo down there. No, that one. Please take a look at this photo. It was tweeted by the president on April 21. It's been hanging out there for about a month.
So what is your point?
My question is the numbers and the letter MS-13. Could you look at the photo, please? It's right in front of
Are
you.
you saying Abrego Garcia is not a wife beater?
No, ma'am.
That he's not a criminal.
Ma'am,
he's not a human trafficker. And he's not a member of MS.
You vouched for Mr. Garcia when
You're
your team
vouching for
said,
a man
ma'am, you
that is
vouched
a
for him when
known
you said he was
violent
mistakenly deported.
Sir,
I didn't vouch for him.
I did not say
In that
He should
photo,
have been deported. Absolutely.
It's so
There was
telling
never
that
a
you
mistake
won't look at the
deport him,
photo.
And we will not be bringing
Was
him back
it
to
doctored or not?
in staying here. If
Can you
he
look
comes
to
back
your
the
right
country, he
at
would
the
be
photo in front of
right
you?
away.
Madam Secretary, can you look to the right at the photo in front of you?
I have seen this
Okay.
photo as you held it behind your heads.
Thank you. And the letters MS and the numbers 13, are those
Is
doctored
this your
or
entire
not?
testimony today is on a doctored photo? You don't want to talk about the facts?
Okay,
The
so
importance of our national security?
You acknowledge it was
Do
doctored.
to make sure that the United States is protected?
Madam Secretary,
from
this is not a hard
violent
question.
criminals?
Are those doctored or not?
Sir,
is that actually on his hand or not?
This is unbelievable to me that you're focused.
It's unbelievable
on
to me that you can't look at the photo and tell the American
I looked at
people.
the photo, but I don't have any knowledge as to this photo.
Okay, so it's been hanging out there for 4 weeks. You are one of the chief law enforcement officials in the country. What have you done to investigate whether the president misrepresented the reason that that person has been detained?
Sir,
have
we
you
spend our
done
time-
anything to try and figure out whether that was doctored or not?
The mission of the Department of Homeland Security is to secure our nation and to make sure that we're out there going after those that are the worst of the worst, the criminals, the bad actors. Abrego Garcia.
So the answer is you've done nothing to
terrorist,
correct the
member
president.
of MS-13, a wife
Okay.
beater and a human
Okay.
trafficker that should never have been in this country to begin with.
So, Madam Secretary, thank you, Mr. Burnett.
Appropriately, if the Supreme Court has ruled 9-0, that he hasn't been treated appropriately. Why is your opinion better
We had
and
two
have more
judges,
authority than the Supreme Court?
investigators, 2 judges, an immigration court that all said he was MS-13 and was removed from this country.
But you understand, that is you saying that. That is you saying that.
That is them saying that. This
No,
is
no, no, no.
investigators and law
That is
enforcement
you
officers
making
in
that
the case they
determination.
built against him. If you don't
the
trust our law
court
enforcement
has
officers
considered all that.
and
The judge has
investigators,
considered all that,
then
Madam
who do you
Secretary.
trust if you
And
don't
if you would be
trust judges?
quiet, because I'm reclaiming my time, you are not following this court order. But let's focus on the court order, because this opinion also says that to facilitate, which the Supreme Court is requiring, is an active verb. It requires that steps be taken. What steps have you taken to return Mr. Abrego Garcia to allow him to get due process?
Abrego Garcia is in his home country.
What
If he were to come
steps
back,
have you taken?
If your continued advocacy for him were to...
I'm not advocating for him.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
advocating for a court order, Madam
Gone to the
Secretary.
mat for this
The
man.
court order
He's terrorizing
says that
people in
you
traffic.
must take steps to follow the court order. You are here under oath. What steps have you taken to return Mr. Abrego Garcia pursuant to this court order?
It's got to be extremely discouraging to be one of your constituents. To see you fight for a terrorist like this and not fight for them is extremely alarming to me.
I'm fighting for due process, and that's under the Constitution.
Gentleman's
and you
time
should
has
fight due
expired.
process.
You refer to foreign terrorist organizations. You refer to aliens who are affiliated with foreign terrorism. You refer to arrests of suspected gang members. Not once do you mention the term domestic terrorism, domestic terrorist, or lone wolf. There's a gaping hole in your testimony today. You fail to reassure this committee or the American people that you'll protect the homeland from bad actors, radicalized right here in the U.S., like the gunman who opened fire on my community 3 years ago today. There's been a systematic, intentional effort by your department and this administration since January 20th to ignore the very real threat posed by domestic terrorism.
A little hot there. Here's the reality, Andrew. These thugs refuse to abide by a Supreme Court decision.
Yeah, and, when we look at the fact that he was forbidden from going to that country and that
Actually, we're losing your signal, so let me go to Nyambe. Nyambe?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this is what happens in this administration. I mean, everybody here is for Donald Trump's comfort, not for the rule of law. And it's one of those moments where we have to recognize the call is coming from inside the House. The biggest threats to our democracy are not the Abrego Garcias of the world, are the folks like Kristi Noem, who will willingly and regularly disobey the oath they took to the people of the United States and to defending the United States Constitution. The rule of law should be paramount, but so many of people in this go-round of this administration are spending their time being sycophants and loyalists to Donald Trump that they could care less. I mean, this is what is, I think, driving so many people away from this presidency. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is a shoo-in for Democrats, but what it does mean is many of those people who took a chance, who thought that what Donald Trump was saying about immigration and about the economy would actually come to pass and they would see their lives bettered, recognize that these are just moves to basically dismantle a legal system that will allow anyone, including Americans, civil rights and civil liberties to be trampled on by this administration. And Kristi Noem, we know this woman who is, by her own admission, killed a puppy, doesn't care about people. I mean, she could not care less. Otherwise, you wouldn't show up in a prison in another country with a Rolex on while people are being dehumanized and have had their characters assassinated by no other word but your own in this administration. And this is the kind of stuff that really upsets people. And I mean, and upset is, of course, putting it mildly, but is letting this government's hypocrisy be on full display. This among many other things, right? Because while we're importing Afrikaners from South Africa, we are deporting people who have a right to be here and who are owed an opportunity to defend themselves in a legal setting. And Kristi Noem is just, again, another long list of people who have signed up and signed away their own integrity in the name of this administration.
Absolutely. Rebecca?
I'm glad Nyambe said it. Yeah, she's a puppy killer because she couldn't figure out how to properly train her puppy, so she decided to shoot it. That's simply ridiculous, and so is her approach in this administration. For those of you all who have been inside the airports recently, you see the Kristi Noem Ice Barbie posters as you're going through security, and it's simply ridiculous. There are serious issues in this country. There are serious Homeland Security issues in this country, but unfortunately, the secretary is not a serious person to deal with it. She's more concerned with aesthetics than the actual substance of what's needed in this country, and that's very unfortunate.
Is Andrew's signal better?
Yeah. So Roland, the biggest issue that I have is how she's playing in everyone's face as though they're not going into the court and arguing something completely different. They're not arguing that he's an MS-13 gang member. They're not arguing that he's a domestic abuser. What they're arguing is that, because we already deported him, there's nothing that we can do. So it's a mistake. It's an administrative error. So we're just going to let it go. And then she's going into these congressional hearings and flat out lying about what the government's position is before the court. And they absolutely can take those steps to try to bring him back. They just don't want to do it.
Well, absolutely. Bottom line is we're dealing with an absolutely corrupt White House. And I'm all for Kristi Noem getting jacked up. I'm going to play some more Congressman Biddy Thompson laying into her. Go ahead and play it.
To you or to the president for the last declaration, and it's taken an inordinate amount of time, more than normal. I just want to know, is that inordinate amount of time is based on some plan that you have knowledge of? But if it's not in writing, I understand. So you talked about the rule of law. Are you telling the committee that due process for anybody that's picked up in this country should not be followed?
Congressman, we have utilized due process as it is laid out in the tools that Congress has given us. We have followed the tools and the processes to which Congress has given us to give due process to people appropriately as it is due.
So your testimony to this committee under oath is that everybody that ICE has picked up in this country has been given every opportunity as Section 5 under the Constitution provides.
Correct. I believe everybody has gotten due process and every person has been treated appropriately according to the civil or the criminal action to which they were encountering individuals and brought into our detainment and then also removed from this country.
So your answer is yes.
The tools that you have given us as this
I'm
body
talking about the
for due process
Constitution of the United States. I'm not talking about tools. The Constitution is clear.
Correct.
And your testimony under oath to this committee is that everybody that ICE has picked up and any other agency of DHS has conformed to those statutes.
For example, Congressman,
yes or no? No, I don't need an example.
Expedited removal is one of the
Madam
tools
Secretary,
that you have given us to utilize as due process.
I just need a yes or no.
Sir, that is the due process tool that you have given us to utilize that has been appropriately.
So obviously,
gentleman's time has expired.
Y'all, Ice Barbie is a damn joke. That's what she is. All right, we're going to go to a break. We're going to come back. Candace Kelley will give us the breakdown of the testimony today in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. It was a whole lot with Cassie Ventura for her second day on the stand. We'll be right back.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The Tuskegee Institute, now university, forever linked to the infamous and despicable syphilis experiments done on the poor rural farmers in Alabama and the Tuskegee Airmen, the famous heroes of World War II. But its history is about so much more. In his new book, The Tuskegee Student Uprising, author Brian Jones reveals a largely untold history, rich in radical activism and reform.
Suddenly the students are meeting these folks whose lifestyle is very different from theirs, very rural, but they're seeing them lose family members. People in their family disappear.
How Tuskegee became an epicenter for Black power. An amazing history lesson on the Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
Hello, we're the Critter Fixers. I'm Dr. Bernard Hodges.
And I'm Dr. Terrence Ferguson.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
42nd day, Cassie Ventura returned to the stand in the federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs. And man, it was just as shocking and devastating as it was on yesterday. Legal analyst Candace Kelley joins us right now with the breakdown.
You know, like you said, it was a lot. What we found out actually were more details, kind of just the hundreds of encounters of these freak-offs, Cassie really broke down everything. What she also said was that at one point, Sean Combs did say that he wanted to blow up Kid Cudi's car, wanted to make sure that all of his friends were there. And she also mentioned that many, many times she said that she did not want to do this anymore. Remember, that's very important to the case that the prosecution is trying to prove. But here's what was the really big bombshell, and this came at the end of the day. Cassie explained that when she finally broke up with Sean, she decided that she would have dinner with him. She said it was a fine dinner, a lovely dinner, but when they got back home, he raped her. I mean, and this was at the end of the day. So this was really, really big news on top of such big news that, you know, this is why they asked jurors on questionnaires, are you comfortable with very detailed explanations about what goes on when people are in the middle of sex? She talked about how when Sean Combs found out that she was dating Kid Cudi, that he started beating her as she was having sex during one of these freak-offs. She talked about getting sores in her mouth because of having so much different types of oral sex with so many different people and, uterine tract infections that the medicines just wouldn't heal. I mean, it was just a day of details. And when asked how many freak-offs did she think she was a part of, she said too many to count. She eventually said hundreds. So just a lot went on today. And certainly a lot will go on tomorrow. That's when cross-examination will begin.
She also talked about her 29th birthday, that he was just calling her so much that he wanted to have a freak off, and she just left her friends at a karaoke bar.
She absolutely did. And this was more than on one occasion where she abandoned an event or abandoned friends at the karaoke bar. She abandoned a Prince concert when he heard that she was coming. She rushed right out of there. She said she fell in her heels because she knew that she was going to be in trouble. And that was what the crux of what she was saying, that, listen, I'm abandoning people. I'm scared. I'm scared of this man. I'm scared for my life. She mentioned that he had guns. She also had pictures that were shown to the jury. Now, these were her own pictures that she took over the years. Some of the pictures her mother took of bruises on the back of her body. Of course, the jury got to see that, but everybody else in the court gallery did not see that. In fact, we won't see any of that. This is part of the stipulation and decision that was made by the judge. But there were a lot of pictures, and I would say, again, a lot of details just kind of layering on that. This was something that she was doing every single week, 3 hours, 4 hours at a time, taking drugs. She mentioned the use of the IV drip in order to revive her when she was getting tired. She mentioned once waking up in the shower after having blacked out. So, I mean, today was a day of details. She mentioned more than 10 men by names that were brought in as escorts, really building the prosecution's case. I will say that if I was defending Sean Combs, I would have to dig into a couple of things that she brought up. Number one, she did initiate a couple of fights. She talked about initiating fights with Sean Combs. She talked about initiating a fight with someone who was taking a picture of her. She talked about texts that she sent to Sean Combs saying, I love you, you make me so happy. She talked about a lot of things that might seem confusing to jurors and that they're going to have to decipher whether or not, was she being real or not. Another big deal of the day was the fact that, yes, we all know that there was a settlement, but she told everybody in the courtroom that that settlement was $20 million. And I will say, if I was a defense attorney, I would be bringing that up, asking her why was she asking for that money? Why did it take her so long to ask for that money? Was it because she married someone that did not have as much money as Sean Combs? I would get on her about the fact that she did go on shopping sprees, that he paid for apartments and places where she lived. We really do have to look at both sides, because on cross, this is what we are going to see the defense break down.
I read one report where the defense told the judge they're going to be shifting their strategy as a result of her testimony.
Well, sure. They have to be very, very careful because she is a pregnant woman. She had very, very tight witness testimony, and they have to be careful to make sure that the empathy that she gets is not magnified so much by the jurors. They're going to have to be nice to her. This will not be a regular cross. You normally have a cross-examination where you impeach the witness. You make sure that you want them to come off as liars to the jurors. That's going to be very, very difficult in this situation. Plus, what she's doing is she's giving up information before they can bring it up. For example, as I said, she said that she did start fights. Well, that's something that they can talk about. But the fact that she put everything out there, this is something that they're going to have to change. She was a likable witness, believable witness. Again, a few holes, but they definitely have to go a little more gingerly than they would on someone who was not 8 months pregnant.
Again, it was a lot today about domestic violence. And so do you believe that part of this strategy is that for the prosecution, that they want this jury to be repulsed by Sean Diddy Combs?
Oh, absolutely. I think that they want them to be repulsed. I think that they want them to know all of the details. I think they want them to be really sick to their stomachs, because when you hear this type of information where, a regular drug is not kind of curing something that a lot of women get, a UTI, that kind of puts a little hole in my stomach that she couldn't cure that because she was involved in this domestic violence situation. I listen, there are a lot of ways that this can happen too. I mentioned the expert that we're going to hear from that will kind of justify and contextualize all of this. I would also suggest that if anybody wants to look at, those people who are in violent situations, look at the Duluth model out of Minnesota of control and power. It talks about all of the ways that women and men are controlled, economically and physically, and made to feel like they're alienated from their friends. All of that plays into this. And I've worked with a lot of domestic violence survivors, so she seemed pretty typical, but we definitely need some contextualization as to what she was going through and what someone inside of that type of violent relationship is feeling, because she stayed for a very long time.
Questions from our panel. Rebecca, you first.
Well, thank you so much for your reporting. But as you talked about the testimony today that was centered around domestic abuse and domestic violence, we know that that isn't in the criminal complaint, but specifically it's around coercion and sex trafficking. How do you think the state is going, how do you think the prosecution is going to start to move over to the trafficking and the coercion to prove its case?
Well, and thank you for the question. There was one point in her testimony where she talked about getting on a commercial flight. And during that flight, she made reference to the fact that Sean Combs, right on the plane, pulled up video that she thought was deleted, just to make sure that she knew she had to continue in those freak-offs. And this was after she had said several times, I do not want to be a part of these freak-offs. So I think that many people might look at that as coercion. There's threat, there's intimidation, there's that level of coercion. So they're drawing and connecting the dots very slowly, because you're right. There isn't anything outright that says Sean Combs wrote a note that says, I will kill you if you do not go to these freak-offs. But the way that she was treated, how many times she was beaten and punched and kicked in her head, I think that the jury will be able to connect the dots and make that coercion part of it really stick.
Nyambe.
Yeah, so thank you again, Candace, for those details. I mean, I know it's pretty harrowing. Does it seem like the jury is reacting at all to those details, or is everyone trying to maintain a poker face? Because I think that's a pretty harrowing set of allegations there.
No, absolutely. So listen, I've been in and out of the courthouse. At one point, it's reported that one of the jurors, when they saw these pictures that she had, gasped and put their hand up against their chest, because they were very, very surprised at the bruises that were shown that she took of herself. But most of the time, they have just had a poker face. And I think that they've just been taking everything in, as Sean Combs is too. I think what's also interesting is that while Sean Combs probably will not take the witness stand, just him sitting there all gray, reading the Bible, taking notes, saying thank you to everybody with his hands clasped. You really are testifying when you're not, when you're sitting there. So I think that the jury is just taking all of that in, and they're trying to be as poker-faced as possible.
Andrew?
Yes, thank you for your reporting on this. What's the overall, temperament in the courtroom in general? Are things pretty contentious? Is everyone pretty civil? What are things like?
Oh, everybody is very civil. If you want to judge on any case, this is the judge to have. He is very civil. All the attorneys are very civil, and I mean, they're powerhouses of attorneys, so they're interesting to watch them do their work. It is packed. It's not as packed. I covered the Sean Combs shooting trial in 2001. It wasn't like that. It's certainly more kind of an assembly line of people who were sitting in there. I think what was interesting is that when we all sit down in court, the manager of the courtroom says, hey, listen, you cannot talk and you have to be respectful, because this is a part where the press has a responsibility to the public in order to report everything that's going on. I like that very much, because this is why we have the press and people like me who are able to go into the courtroom. But it is very civil and very quiet. Outside, it's a madhouse. I mean, people are in line right now in order to be inside of the courthouse tomorrow. There have been fights that have been breaking out, and there's a lot going on. But inside, very, very cordial.
Well, again, it is a whole lot to take in, and again, the trial is expected to go 8 weeks. This is only day 2, so the question then really becomes, what does the prosecution unveil? Again, I saw one that attorneys for a couple of other witnesses, including one person who was a Combs assistant, talked about how scared to death and nervous they are testifying.
Oh, absolutely. This is probably, she goes by the name of Mia. This was mentioned in the first day of the opening statements for the prosecution. We heard more about Mia today from Cassie Ventura and how she was treated as his assistant or an employee. And you know what we'll probably hear? He's facing dozens of civil lawsuits. And of course, there was due diligence done to talk to all those people who filed. We'll probably hear from those people who filed those civil lawsuits. But absolutely, we're going to hear from 2 or 3 other women, depending upon if they can get that one who's kind of missing in action. We're going to hear their firsthand testimony as victims in this trial.
All right. Candace Kelley, we appreciate it. Thanks for the breakdown.
All right. Good to see you.
All right, folks. So let me go to a break. Come back. More news to talk about, including finally Supreme Court Justice Allison Riggs being sworn in North Carolina. Folks, join our Bring the Funk fan club. Support us via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. It's right here. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com. You can use the QR code for credit cards as well. Send your check and money order by making it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Let's talk. Vote blue no matter who.
We need political imagination more than ever, and unfortunately, some people on the Democratic side really are discouraging that. We're going to dig into all of it.
The Democratic Party needs to remember who they are and who they are responsible to.
This is On the Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
This is Essence Atkins.
It's the Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you watch.
You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, folks, the legal battle over the Supreme Court seat in North Carolina is now done, with Allison Riggs being sworn in today as the Supreme Court justice in that state. She already had the seat. She's being challenged by a Republican. And of course, for 6 months, he was fighting this, just making stuff up. And so finally, she was sworn in. Here it is. All right, we'll have a video. Okay, all right. Okay, let me find it myself. This, of course, is a race that we've been looking at, focused on, and talking about, and that has been just absolutely crazy. This is actually a video that Riggs dropped after her swearing in. Watch this.
Hi, I'm Justice Allison Riggs. I was just sworn in again as an Associate Justice on the North Carolina Supreme Court. It is my great honor to continue serving the people of the state. And my promise to you is this: I will fight for every North Carolinian, regardless of who they voted for. I will defend all North Carolinians, regardless of political affiliation. I will uphold the rule of law, the Constitution, and follow my solemn oath without fear or favor. And I will stand up for your rights and freedoms. Thank you.
It was an absolutely just crazy back and forth that took place. This here is video of her being sworn in as well. It was just back the Republican was doing. I mean, trying to get some 65,000 votes rejected. Here's what was the most nonsensical thing for me about all of this, Rebecca, is that this was weird. He was trying to get the ballots tossed in his race. And the North Carolina Supreme Court, Republican-led, was trying to help them all as they could, but you're going to act like other people didn't vote? So toss out ballots only in his race as if there were no other races on the ballot. That to me is what was so crazy. So like, only in his race, they were illegal.
Yeah. So absolutely. So this is what's crazy. He was trying to go back 20 years and say that because the law has changed in the last 20 years, the requirements for voter registration 20 years ago is now stricter now. So those who registered up to 20 years ago, retroactively or fast forwardly, they should have complied with what the future of voter registration restrictions were going to be in North Carolina. So it's nonsensical. And then also those 65,000 folks who voted, their votes were counted in the other races on that ballot that they voted for. Those votes were actually already certified. So it is ludicrous to say only for this particular line on the ballot, do not count these ballots because these people weren't properly registered to vote. So it didn't have legal bearing. It didn't make sense. But even just on the surface of it, if you are someone who's sworn to uphold the law and to be a jurist in the state of North Carolina, you should first start by following the law. So ultimately, what we saw when the district court judge, which was I believe it was a Trump-appointed judge, said, "Come on, it's over." At that point, the Republicans in North Carolina knew that it was indeed over.
Niambi, for the people who say my vote does not matter, this is the actual map between Allison Riggs and Jefferson Griffin. This is the map right here. You see the counties won in North Carolina at the bottom, but the reality is this was a 734 vote margin. You look at the counties there in North Carolina. That tells you right there, every vote does indeed matter.
Absolutely. And I think when you're talking about a place like North Carolina, which has some really interesting politics, right, where, some places are blue, some places are more purple, some places are more red, it absolutely matters. It's a big state with a lot of counties. So this really was going to be one on the margins. And I think when you think about places where voting equipment is not as updated as it should be, where you see people who are disenfranchised or excluded, again, these efforts matter so much more. And so, the North Carolina State Board of Elections and others who've been involved in this process, right, have spoken repeatedly, not just about the process, but about the sort of the equipment and the infrastructure that is needed in this state. So this election, which is about election denialism and all this other stuff at the national level, is really about equality and access to at the local level. And, look, state races are so vital to our lives, and many are won with as few votes as we saw here in North Carolina. So if anything, I think this is a plug for people. If you're over the national stuff, okay, fine. But your state and local elections matter so much more for your daily life and how you experience your daily life. And North Carolina is just one of many places. So this is whether we're talking about judges or we're talking about school boards or any of those other positions, right? When we care about things like potholes, we got to look locally. So I hope people pay attention and know that there's a lot of stuff happening in our communities right now that matter.
Andrew, that's the point that we're always making. But here's the other thing that people don't seem to understand, and Riggs did. When she spoke, she warned about the threat to future elections. Listen to this.
Voters should not have to fight tooth and nail to have their lawful votes counted. Disappointed politicians should not use courts to try and get a different election outcome. We have before and may continue to see efforts to undermine our rights and our democracy. And just as you use your voices in this fight, I encourage North Carolinians to remember, you decide elections, not candidates, not political parties. And those that you elect are accountable to you. It is crucial for you to use your precious right to vote to elect candidates and especially judges who who will put the Constitution, the rule of law, and their solemn oath above their own personal political ambitions and ideologies. And the reason I was able to stand resolute, not discouraged and not intimidated, is because I knew that I stood arm in arm with you, protecting that precious fundamental right to vote. Thank you.
Andrew, folk better not play around because, again, these Republican courts in this state, they were trying to give this election to Griffin as badly as they could. They tried everything.
Yeah, and it's so sad to see our democracy and also the three branches of government, how it played out in a situation that was so egregious and how they were able to almost overthrow an election that was clearly won by Riggs. But ultimately, we did see that the rule of law prevailed, and I think that it gives us a slither of hope that the rule of law can prevail. I like how she talked about perseverance and how she stood tall and how she was able to overcome even in the face of adversity.
Absolutely, and so again, and so now you see the woman who's holding the microphone there. Y'all freeze it. Y'all may not realize this, but that's a black woman. That is North Carolina Supreme Court Justice Anita Earls. She's going to be on the ballot next year. Again, Riggs and Earls are the only two Democrats on the Supreme Court, and they have been trying everything, Rebecca, to get Earls off. In fact, she gave an interview talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion among the staff. These fools had her investigated and wanted to impeach her because she gave her opinion.
Yeah, so Anita Earls is an amazing jurist. She spent her legal career as a civil rights attorney. She clearly understands the law. She's committed to upholding civil rights. She understands the importance of diversity in the state of North Carolina, as well across the United States. And so right now we're seeing a scheme in North Carolina where they don't want representation. They want to have two classes of citizenship in North Carolina, which is one reason why Anita Earl going into next year will be a target, but something else that viewers need to pay attention to. The other thing that North Carolina decided to do is with their state election commission, it used to be that the governor made the appointees to that commission. Well, there was a change in the legislature last year. So it's no longer the governor that's making those appointments. It's no longer it didn't even move to the lieutenant governor. It didn't even move to the secretary of state. Instead, North Carolina decided to give it to the auditor. So now the auditor, the state auditor, who is a Republican, is now allowed to appoint those who will serve on the election commission. And the reason why that's important, as election rules are updated and changed, and when there are controversies, it's going to be the Republican state auditors appointees who are going to be making those decisions. Mm-hmm. So one thing to look out in North Carolina is that there's potential of litigation to actually get rid of that scheme. But people need to keep their eye in North Carolina because when it comes to the vote, we're going to still see challenges going into the 2026 election cycle.
Understand, Niambi, why did they do that? Well, because the governor in the legislature did that. The governor in North Carolina is a Democrat. The lieutenant governor is a Democrat. The secretary of state is a Democrat. The attorney general is a Democrat. That's why they shifted that authority to the state auditor.
Absolutely. And I think, the thing about Anita Earls that has been important and why people, the Republicans in particular in North Carolina, have targeted her is she has objected to many of the things that they have done around curbing people's access to vote, like voter ID laws and other things. She has been a chief objector, in part because her argument is this has nothing to do with, voter integrity or anything like that. It's about keeping people of color out of the electoral process. And she has made that claim repeatedly. As we've seen Republicans in the state get more aggressive, quite frankly, they've been emboldened and have been for a while. And so, North Carolina is one of those places that's kind of unique, because if you know anything about North Carolina, like Durham, for example, was never covered by the Voting Rights Act because of so many Black people who were registered to vote in 1965. But there are other parts of that county, right? Of that state, excuse me, where that were covered in part. And one of the things that North Carolina has always been very good about is doing their racism in such a way that they didn't really use racist language. So when they didn't want to integrate schools, what did they do? Started these private academies like lots of states did, and then gave, local communities the ability to abandon schools. They do similar things with voting and voting challenges, right? Where anyone could challenge someone's voter registration, and those mails wouldn't be forwarded, say, to your new address. So you wouldn't even know sometimes that had happened to you. So North Carolina has a very long history of this, and Anita Earls has been one of the thorns in their side, kind of obstructing their ability to do this with the speed and the quiet that they would like to do it with. Because the thing about the GOP in North Carolina, they like to do a lot of things, but they don't like to claim a lot of things when it comes to undermining Black voting rights in that state. And so Anita Earls has been a problem for them for quite some time.
Andrew.
Yeah, I don't want to echo and rehash everything my panelists have said, but one of the things that we have to remember is that the South still lives on. There's still going to be 3 or 4 steps ahead of us when it comes to the institution of racism. You see here 2025, and they're still trying to do the same thing, trying to oppress women and trying to oppress African Americans and other minorities. So we have to make sure that we are staying ahead of the game, and we're looking at what their blueprints are, right? And we're looking at the things that they're doing and making sure that it doesn't trickle up north to our communities.
All right, folks, quick break. We come back. We're going to talk about the gutless Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who is so wimpy he won't even call out Trump's $400 million airplane deal. Also, Florida A&M, even a funk house there as well over the hiring of a new president. We're going to talk about that as well. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life, we are getting real about mother wounds. While May is the month that we shower mom with love, for some people, this time of year is a stark reminder of fractured relationships and feelings of abandonment. In this episode, we will be uncovering the trauma of mother wounds and sharing tips on how we can begin to heal them.
What we don't talk enough about in our community is giving ourselves permission to even heal.
That's all next on A Balanced Life here, Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Jamia Pugh. I am from Coatesville, Pennsylvania, just an hour right outside of Philadelphia.
My name is Jasmine Pugh. I'm also from Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
Folks, the search is over. Morehouse College has named Dr. F. DuBois Bowman as its 13th president, marking a powerful return to a Morehouse man. Bowman, a 1992 graduate. Also, he is a nationally respected health leader, currently serves as Dean of the University of Michigan School of Public Health. Known for his visionary leadership and commitment to academic excellence, Dr. Bowman will take the helm on July 15th. Trustees say he brings the perfect blend of intellect, strategy, and values-driven leadership to guide Morehouse into its next era. Now, going to Florida, Florida A&M's presidential search has reached a fever pitch with controversy swirling around finalist Marva Johnson in the process itself. Despite strong opposition from students, alumni, and civil rights leaders, including a rally led by Florida A&M alum and Hollywood producer Will Johnson, Johnson made her case before the Board of Trustees. During her interview today, she thanked the search committee and emphasized her commitment to Florida A&M's legacy. Meanwhile, critics say they question her academic qualifications and alleged political interference, pointing to her ties to Florida's Republican leadership and her late addition to the finalist pool. NAACP leaders in the Florida A&M community have called for a restart of the search to ensure transparency and fairness. The Board of Trustees are going to vote on May 16th, with the Florida Board of Governors making the final decision. Play some of that audio, please.
Assessments, and this is one place where AI can be helpful. Getting real-time assessments from students might help the teachers improve their ability to service the students in the classroom. And so if we pull levers like that, I think we can make progress. And if we can't make progress, maybe we can have a better perspective on what opportunities we should look to, so that we can make that.
All of the finalists have been meeting this week on campus with the board, with students. People have an opportunity to ask questions as well. Again, it was a lot here. This was a video posted. I'm at Marva Johnson's meet and greet session with Florida A&M alumni in the community. It's packed, unlike previous evening sessions with the other finalists. Attendees include Will Packer and Lawrence Humphreys, son of former Florida A&M President William Humphreys. Watch this here. Turn it up.
We have the 2+2 articulation. In my role as a member of the State Board of Ed and as the chair of the State Board of Ed, I've spent a lot of time working in education policy as well as in managing performance as it relates to delivering the outcomes that our families need for our students here in the state of Florida.
Now, there have been others who've been commenting, who have been again raising their concerns. Let me pull up a second here. I'm going to show you. Here. Give me a second right here. I want to show you Andrew Gillum, of course, who is a graduate of Florida A&M. He weighed in as well with his thoughts on all of this on Instagram. Let me go there. I want to show you what he had to say. Again, folks are not at all happy, specifically about Marva Johnson. They're unhappy that she has been picked as a finalist. Part of this is because they say she has no university experience whatsoever. Now, you heard her there talk about being on the State Board of Education, but again, she's never actually worked in higher education. Let me see if I can pull this together for you. This was on Instagram. Andrew Gillum. He says, meet Marva Johnson, political puppet, no ties to Florida A&M, no higher education experience. She's not here for us, she's here for them. And so you have his post here. He says, Republican conservative operatives are knocking. They see FAMU as their next takeover. We can't let them in. And then he says, outside power players are trying to hijack our leadership. We see you and we won't stay silent. And so they says, you see what it says here, no MAGA Marva movement. Diambi, that's a whole lot going on there. And look, the point is, look, I personally know Marva Johnson. I met her years ago. She's been a cable lobbyist. So I've met her at cable events. But when they say that if you want the president of a university, if you've never worked at a university in any capacity whatsoever, how are you qualified to be the president of a university?
I think this is a big can of worms, in part because of DeSantis, right? And his move to root out ideological stuff, as I think he used the term, at universities, and FAMU was the latest. Look, there are a lot of routes to becoming the president. I do think it is important for a person as a university president to understand how a university works. It's not a business. It's not like other things. You not only have to know how to fundraise, and distribute money, but you also have to know how to deal with students, deal with families, deal with parents. And yes, you have deans and vice provosts and all those kind of folks to do that stuff. But a lot of your job is about restoring or installing confidence in that place. And if people don't feel that you are a person of integrity, that you are bringing that to that position, then you're going to get responses like this. I don't think that there's a way that Marva Johnson can take this job with no prior university experience, with no ties to this institution and all of the other things, and expect to have the respect of her university community. The fact that you saw this many students at that function when it is after the end of classes, right? At the very end of the semester, their summer technically should be starting now, and you see that many students there, that is a testament to how bothered and upset these students are and how concerned they are. And it is no surprise that DeSantis would go after one of the flagship Black institutions in that state. It's no means the only, but I think when you think about FAMU and think about its status in that state and just its status nationally as a premier institution, we should have known that it would be on the offing, especially since so many Florida universities have had new presidents in the last couple of years. So I think people should be rightly concerned that this person is there just to sort of do the bidding of the governor and not serve the needs of the students of Florida A&M University.
This is the thing that jumps out at me. Again, I am, look, as somebody who understands institutions, who run places, I just believe, Rebecca, that when you're talking about being the president of a university, let's just look at some numbers here, okay? Florida A&M, 10,000 student body, okay? When you look at size of the faculty and staff, I mean, we're talking about 422-acre campus. We're talking about, again, where the university ranks. We're looking at so many different things. When it comes to background, if you've never run something, it's kind of hard to make the point about, yeah, you go ahead and run this now. That's one of the points also Will Patrick has been making. I'm going to my iPad. This is the local station where he talked about his opposition to her being president.
Amphitheater's namesake himself, Will Packer.
We have to make sure that we support each other and that we are loud and we are ardent in our opposition to somebody that is not right for the future of this institution, especially at a time that is so crucial.
The renowned FAMU alum and film producer tells us countless from the...
Now, you got 535 full-time instructional faculty, 476 support service staff. Again, if I'm hiring somebody, my first question is, have you ever run an institution of this size? Have you run an institution half this size? If you haven't, how could you be considered a finalist for a job of a flagship university in the state of Florida?
So here's the thing about FAMU. If you know anyone who went to FAM or is an alum of FAM, and if you're familiar or a part of the FAMU League, then you absolutely know how tight-knit that community is. If you never walked the highest of 7 hills there, then you don't need to be trying to run FAMU. So it's not just whether or not have you run an institution where it's over 10,000 enrolled students, plus just under 1,000 faculty and staff, but it's also what is your commitment to FAMU? The other thing is past this prologue. So I believe she was the chair of the Florida State Board of Education. So tell me, how did Black students in Florida public schools fare under your leadership? Did they increase? Did they improve in scholastic achievements? Or was there a decrease? What were the outcomes of Black students? If you can't answer that, if you can't prove even in your past that you've done things to the betterment of Black students in the state of Florida, then you do not deserve to run FAMU. And finally, I'm going to be a little petty and no, to those who are making comments, I'm not going to make fun of her wig, but this is what I'm going to say. She is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. I think it's telling that they're like usually when someone who's trying to go into leadership and is a member of my illustrious sorority, we go up for that person. We are extremely supportive and supporting that person. I think it's very telling that I'm not hearing members of Alpha Kappa Alpha shouting out their support of her in this endeavor. She certainly is not a good fit. She is not qualified. She has not shown a commitment to the FAMU community. And it is what it is. It's a farce.
So again, for me, I just look at very clear metrics and understanding. Andrew, I'm gonna go to you. I'm looking at, this is the resume. Again, y'all, this is not my opinion. This is the resume of Marva Brown Johnson. It says right here. Okay, this is, I just want everybody to hear what I'm saying. Professional experience, Charter Communications, 2016 to president. Group Vice President, 2020 to president. Regional Vice President, State Government Affairs for the South, 2016 to 2020. Okay. Bright House Networks, acquired by Charter in 2016. So worked there from 2016 to 2016. Corporate Vice President, Government and Industry Affairs, 2010 to 2016. Corporate Vice President, Technology Policy and Industry Affairs, Interim Vice President, CLEC Operations. Then you go to Director, Carrier Services and Financial Operations, 2006, 2008. So if we're starting in 2000, and again, okay, law degree from Georgia State, MBA from Emory University, Executive Management Program, Harvard Business School, Bachelor of Science from Georgetown University. Okay. So if I'm looking at experience, I'm looking at 2016 to present. So that's 19 years.
I mean, 9.
I'm sorry, nowhere in here do I see leading or running an institution. Running, how many employees? Again, this is what I look at. I look at how many people did you manage? I look at, do any of these jobs have what we call P&L responsibility, profit and loss? The answer is no. I'm sorry. I don't, and again, I know Marva personally. I've met her. She's a golfer. I mean, I text her last week. I just don't see how this light of a resume to be a university president, these two simply don't correlate.
Well, look, Roland, honestly, after seeing this, I think that I might put in my application to be the president of Howard University. Because this is the definition of a plant. When you look at the other candidates that she's up against, one is the vice president of that university. The other one works at Eastern Shore currently. They are so much higher qualified than she is, even at this moment, that it makes zero sense except for the fact that she is a MAGA plant. And for her to even be considered, you go back to thinking about the process of applying for a job. When you sit behind your computer, you put your resume in, and then you hope that you get a call back. You get all these qualifications that a person in this job needs to do this, and that, right? And then you apply for the job and you say, man, I have all these qualifications and I hope that I get a call back. And they called her back, someone that I was listening, I didn't hear anything in there that said anything about being in any way related to education, whether it be even except for a student, right? Except for getting degrees in education, nothing in there teaching a class, even sitting on a board of a university, nothing in terms of educational experience. So this is a definition of a plan. It's sad because we have somebody in the White House right now that has experience, yes, 4 years beforehand, but completely unqualified for the position, and now they're starting in Florida. It goes back to what I was saying about the South, that we gotta watch the South, right? In these trends in the South, and they're starting in Florida at FAMU, a very well-known, highly respected HBCU. And I think that if they let her in, there's going to be the trend. Because just because she's an AKA does not mean that she's qualified to run an entire institution.
So I just want to show people, these are the finalists. All right, so you look right here. Rondell Allen, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, University of Maryland Eastern Shore. And then if you click CV, you'll see, let's see here, you'll see Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Acting Vice President for Strategic Initiatives, Dean of the School of Pharmacy and Health Professions, Associate Dean for Academic Quality, Associate Dean for Student Affairs, Xavier University. The Dean of Academic Quality was South University School of Pharmacy. Assistant Dean for Program Assessment, Xavier University. That's, to me, that's called relevant academic experience to be president, okay? Here's the next person. Gerald Hector, CPA, Senior Vice President for Administration and Finance at the University of Central Florida. If I click his CV, what is it going to tell me? Senior Vice President, University of Central Florida. Oversaw the issuance of structured bonds, okay? All the whole deal, late implementation, all these things in terms of being the VP for Administration and Finance. Then, as I go, Morehouse College, Executive Vice President, Chief Business Officer. Let's see here. Cornell University, Vice President for Financial Affairs, University Treasurer. There 2 years. Before that, let's see here, Vice President for Financial Affairs. They're still at Cornell. Okay, Ithaca College, Vice President for Finance and Administration. Let me go down further. Johnson C. Smith, Vice President of Business and Finance. Okay, Corporate Controller, United Negro College Fund, there for 6 years. Deloitte and Touche, Public Accountant. All right, so that is a extensive business academic record. Okay, again, I already showed you Marva Johnson's resume. The fourth candidate, Donald Palm, Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer, Florida A&M University. Okay, so if I go through here, Florida A&M, EVP, Chief Operating Officer. Before that, let's see here. Okay, academic stuff, policy, strategic, all that sort of stuff. Interim Vice President for Advancement and Executive Director, Florida A&M Foundation. Got it? All right. Let's see. Previously, Virginia State University, Executive Vice President and Provost, Vice President for Student Affairs, Vice President for Research. Let's see here. Let me go on down. Progressive Leadership. Florida A&M, Associate Provost for Undergraduate Education, Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs, Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs. Okay, so you have 3 candidates with significant university experience. 1 candidate, 0 university experience. Also, candidates that dealt with finances, managed staffs. 1 who's been a lobbyist. I'm sorry. I understand why people at Florida A&M are going, what the hell? This don't make no sense.
Absolutely.
I mean, for the party that loves whining and complaining about DEI and merit-based hiring, Rebecca, I'm sorry, I don't see the merit. and I'm making an apples-to-apples comparison to resumes.
They didn't even try here, so it's very insulting. You know, they didn't even find somebody. I mean, maybe they could have found a black administrator at Liberty University or something, at least someone who has worked in higher ed. Instead, they're just like, oh, you're going to fall for the okie doke, the banana in the tailpipe. And guess what? Black people are smarter than that, especially Black folks connected to community. What we're seeing is this person's not connected to community, because if she was, they would have told her, hey, sis, this ain't for you. You need to sit this one out. Instead, I don't know who her counsel is, but apparently she has very unwise counsel. If she had integrity, she would remove herself from this process. But unfortunately, she may be someone with no integrity, which is why she's up for this position, even though she should not be.
Well, all I'm doing is sitting here comparing the resumes. Listen, if Marvin hit me right now and said, what do you think? I would say, Marvin, you ain't qualified for this job. This ain't the first time I told somebody I know you ain't qualified for this job. I mean, I'm sorry. This is, I mean, it is what it is. All right, y'all. Before we go, I can't stand people with no guts, who are hypocritical, who are just weak. That's Speaker Mike Johnson. So he's asked today about the $400 million jet that Qatar wants to give to Donald Trump. If y'all want to see someone who will never win a Profile Encourage Award, it's Mike Johnson. Listen.
If the president were to accept an airplane from the Qatari government, should Congress have approval over that kind of gift?
Look, I've been a little busy on reconciliation, so I'm not following all the twists and turns of the Qatar Jet. I've certainly heard about it. My understanding is it's not a personal gift to the president; it's a gift to the United States, and other nations give us gifts all the time. But I'm going to leave it to the administration. They know much more about the details of that. Okay, it's not my lane.
Run that back.
If the president were to accept an airplane from the Qatari government, should Congress have approval over that kind of gift?
Look, I've been a little busy on reconciliation, so I'm not following all the twists and turns of the Qatar Jet. I've certainly heard about it. My understanding is it's not a personal gift to the president; it's a gift to the United States, and other nations give us gifts all the time. But I'm going to leave it to the administration. They know much more about the details of that. Okay, it's not my lane.
It's not my lane. Not my lane. Really? Henry, go to my iPad. Y'all, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8 says, no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, except of any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state. Andrew, what that means is, Speaker Mike Johnson, it is your fucking lane. The Constitution clearly states it's your lane. Go back. Right here. Without the consent of the Congress. And then to say, oh, we get gifts all the time. Not $400 million planes. And in the announcement that it's going to go to the United States, and then after he leaves, it gets transferred to his library for his personal use. Bruh, really?
Yeah, I mean, talk about the miseducation of Congress. First off, the United States educational system needs to do better. I don't know.
No, the U.S. education system is fine. That dumbass don't want to answer the question. I am not the Speaker of the House, and I know about the emolument clause.
Right.
They didn't ask him to spell it. They asked him to weigh in on it.
Yeah, and I just don't understand how he can at least just say, or someone couldn't have prepped him to say, you know, you're going to get asked about this jet. So if you're going to get asked about this jet, please just go ahead and say that Congress will have to, you know, decide it later. Instead, he just acts like he has no idea, completely uninformed about anything. And then he makes this ridiculous remark that that the Congress has no bearing on whether or not a $400 million jet goes to the leader of the free world. Come on, this is ridiculous.
I mean, this whole Deion, I don't know. That's not my job. I don't know. I mean, why y'all asking me? I mean, I've been busy with some other stuff. I haven't heard. You didn't tell me your ass is Speaker of the House, and you ain't heard about this here?
I mean, listen, if you can't chew gum and walk across the street at the same time, then this is clearly not the job for you. Look, Mike Johnson is not ready for prime time. It's been clear from the beginning that he is there to essentially say whatever Donald Trump wants him to say. The fact that they're talking about accepting this plane and then trying to use our money to retrofit it, right, to make it the Air Force One, not thinking about the security concerns or anything else, but when it is decommissioned, right, when he leaves office, he's going to be able to use it for his private use and donate it to his presidential library. I mean, let's talk about what this is really about. Donald Trump wants an upgrade. He is willing to take a bribe from whomever is offering it. In this case, it happens to be Qatar. I think there are real questions about Donald Trump not just wanting to be a king, but the level of public corruption that he will engage in. And then look at us with a straight face and say, no, I'm not. And everybody around him, the sycophants and others whose job it is, again, to serve the people of the United States and not Donald Trump, just sit around and twiddle their thumbs and say, I don't know anything about this. Everybody knows something about this by now. Why don't you know about this? And I think this stuff, this sort of mealy-mouthed playing in our faces that they're all doing, it's going to come back to bite them eventually. Because one thing we do know about Donald Trump, he does not forget and he takes score. So those who choose to get a backbone and stand in the way of this gift, right, this government to government gift that somehow is going to revert to Donald Trump as a private individual once he leaves office, whenever that is, he will go after them. And I'm just curious to see how many people are going to, you know, I don't know, try to maintain some semblance of integrity, try to pretend that this is still a democracy, that they are still people with actual titles and some power here. I'm waiting to see it. It's certainly not going to be Mike Johnson. Maybe Thune or some others will come forward and say something. But this is out and out ridiculous. It's corrupt. It raises all kinds of security issues. And, you know, this is par for the course when you're looking at this administration.
Before I go to Rebecca, I found this to really be laughable. If you want to see how hypocritical this fool is, watch this.
Of President Mr. Speaker, you were very critical of President Biden and his family's foreign business dealings. You supported an impeachment inquiry as a result of it. Are you equally concerned about President Trump's family's business dealings, especially given the fact that he is in a region now where his family has billions of dollars of investments in Doha and Saudi Arabia, and the fact that he has a crypto business now where he's auctioned off access to the White House for the highest bidder in his meme coin?
Look, there are authorities that police executive branch ethics rules. I'm not an expert in that. My expertise is here in the House. Okay, I will say that the reason many people refer to the Bidens as the Biden crime family is because they were doing all this stuff behind curtains, but in the back rooms. They were trying to conceal it, and they repeatedly lied about it, and they set up shell companies, and the family was all engaged in getting all on the dole. Whatever the President Trump is doing is out in the open. They're not trying to conceal anything.
But Mr. Speaker, the investment in the meme coin, those folks are not transparent. We do not know who those people are.
I don't know anything about the meme coin thing. I don't know. I can just tell you that, I mean, President Trump has had nothing to hide. He's very upfront about it, and there are people who watch all the ethics of that. But I mean, I've got to be concerned with running the House of Representatives.
Is it congressional oversight, though? That's the congressional responsibility, isn't it?
Congress has oversight responsibility, but I think, so far as I know, the ethics are all being followed. So, yes, sir.
So, let me give y'all a translation. Unlike some other people who we accused of being criminals, but we couldn't find any evidence they were criminals. See, Donald Trump he robs the bank in daylight. And see, when Donald Trump robs the bank, they don't wear masks, and they don't put on gloves. So see, what they do is they send you a text before they steal your stuff. So Trump's people are just they are transparent with being grifters. Rebecca, that's really what he said.
Look, corruption is corruption, and it is wrong, whether it's Democrat or Republican, whether it's behind closed doors or it's in front or it's on the world stage.
But they couldn't prove the Biden so-called crime family. They couldn't prove it. They didn't have the goods. Comer promised for 4 years, I got the goods, I got the goods, I got the goods. Never had it.
Yeah, they absolutely did not prove it. But I also am old enough to remember when Secretary Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. I think she was given like a $250 necklace, and it was all up in arms because she could not keep a $250 necklace from a foreign government. What's interesting here, the follow-up question to Speaker Johnson should be, hey, Speaker Johnson, you ride an Air Force One from time to time. Do you feel comfortable riding on the new Air Force One that's given by a foreign government that at times has hostile anti-American interests? Would you feel comfortable riding in the sky around the world in that particular jet? And I bet you right then and there, Mike Johnson would have some things to say about that, and probably likely wouldn't want to fly in what would be a compromised a jet at that point. This is ludicrous. It's bad for democracy. It also shows that Speaker Mike Johnson is not a good leader. He's not upholding constitutional principles, especially for someone who claims to, want to uphold the Constitution. Because as a reminder, Article 1 of the Constitution outlines Congress and Congress's principal role in this democracy in being the primary check and balance on the executive branch. But this is something that Speaker Johnson isn't comfortable with doing. So maybe he's not qualified for the job.
Right. And at least the Republican Senate Majority Leader had some guts. This is Politico. Senate Majority Leader John Thune became the most prominent Republican to express discomfort with the deal, telling reporters there are, quote, lots of issues associated with that offer, which I think need to be further talked about. I guess he's not too busy being the Senate Majority Leader to actually keep up with the news. I'm just saying. All right. Thanks a bunch, Rebecca. Thank you, Niambi. Thanks very much, Andrew. I appreciate y'all being on today's panel. Thank you so very much. Folks, these people are just crazy. They just absolutely So I just sit there and I'm like, y'all really, this the bullshit we got to deal with. But I mean, that's how they roll. All right, folks, that's it for us. Lots more we'll be covering, keeping up with some stuff. Let me see if we got anything new. Anything? I told y'all yesterday I showed y'all the photos of our new Robomobile being built. Be delivered next week. Look forward to that. If y'all want to support the work that we do, listen, it's a lot of stuff going on, y'all. I was dealing with an ad agency today. And these ad agencies, y'all, don't want to support black-owned media, make us jump through hoops, do all kind of stuff, and we're doing the best that we can. But the bottom line is we don't have millionaires, billionaires supporting us. Your support is critical for what we do. We are busy working on new shows, launch of the network, shooting a business pilot this week. We're looking at a health show as well, so we're trying to expand the offerings that we have. And so when you support the Black Star Network, you're supporting all of these shows, not just my show. And so we would love for you to join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to join via Cash App, your contributions, our goal is to get people to give on average $50. If you can give more, great. If you can give less, we appreciate that as well. Does not matter. The QR code for Stripe is right here. This is the QR code. Click the Cash App button to contribute. Also, see a check and money order to P.O. Box First of all, make a big payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo RM Unfiltered. Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Of course, be sure to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Get the book stores nationwide. Also get the audio version I read on Audible. Get your Roland Martin Black Star Network swag. We got our new shirts, merchandise, you name it, we got it. Go to rolandmartin.creator-spring.com. The QR code is there as well. Plus, download the app Fanbase. And if you want to invest, go to startengine.com/fanbase. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?